All right, so get ready because today we're diving into something that's probably more relevant than you think, and that's digital legacy management. I mean, it's not something that we really think about a lot, but
Mm.
it's becoming a pretty big deal now that our lives are basically online.
Exactly. It's like, a will, but for your entire online life.
So, like all my social media.
Yeah, all your social media, emails, photos you've got stored up there in the cloud, even those online gaming
Oh,
accounts.
wow. So, like even my World of Warcraft account.
Yep. It's all part of your digital legacy. And, without a plan, it's going to be a real headache for your family.
That's a good point. So, it's not just about sentimental stuff like old photos.
Right.
There's some serious stuff to think about too,
Absolutely.
like legal stuff.
Yeah, think about it. Like you've worked really hard to build your online image. Maybe you've got a business, right? And it's all online.
Mhm.
Tons of memories saved in the cloud. Without a plan, all that could just disappear.
Yeah.
And then what are your loved ones supposed to do? They'll have to figure out how to get into your accounts, get all that data back.
And is that even possible?
Well, it can be a nightmare, especially if there are legal or financial things tied up in there.
Okay. Yeah, that is a scary thought. It's suddenly feeling a lot less like something way in the future,
Yeah.
more like something I need to figure out now.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is this whole need has actually created a whole new business opportunity.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you've got services now that can actually help people manage their, digital afterlife.
What a whole business.
Ugh.
That's fascinating. So who's signing up for this kind of service? Is it mainly older people thinking about, their estates and stuff?
Well, older adults are definitely a big part of it,
Yeah.
but it's not just them.
Okay.
Younger generations are starting to think about it too. I mean, they've grown up online, right?
Right.
They understand that what they do online has real value,
Mm,
and it needs to be part of their legacy planning.
that makes sense. So it's not just about grandma's Facebook. It's about everyone's digital stuff.
Exactly. And then you've got other groups too, people who are really into privacy,
Oh, right.
and they want to make sure that their information is handled, discreetly.
Right.
And then there's people who are just really tech savvy and have all these complicated accounts and platforms.
I can see that.
They might need some help sorting it all out.
Yeah.
And of course, there are professionals like artists or entrepreneurs, anyone who's really built their business online,
Right.
their online presence, that's their livelihood.
Absolutely. Okay, so I see the need, and there are more people who need it than I thought.
Right.
But how does this service actually work, like in real life? It feels kind of overwhelming to think about.
Well, it can be a little daunting, but when you break it down into steps, it's actually pretty manageable.
Okay, that makes sense. So how does it work?
So the first step is figuring out what you have. We call it a digital asset assessment.
Mhm.
It means going through and making a list of all your digital stuff.
So like everything.
Yeah, your social media accounts, your emails, cloud storage, online banking, subscriptions, even things like loyalty programs or those gaming accounts.
Wow, okay, so it really is everything. That sounds like a lot of work, especially if you've been online for a long time.
Well, a good service will definitely help you with that.
Okay,
They might start by looking at the devices you use most, like your phone and laptop,
okay.
and then maybe go through your apps, browser history, bookmarks, things like that. Sometimes seeing those familiar websites can remind you of accounts you've forgotten about.
That's clever.
They might even suggest going through your old emails.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get registration confirmations or welcome messages from websites that you haven't thought about in years.
Oh, that's a good point. Like a digital archaeological dig, huh?
Exactly.
Unearthing all those old accounts.
Yeah.
Okay, what happens after you've dug up all that digital treasure?
Well, then it's time to secure everything. Think of it like creating a digital vault. But instead of jewels and gold, it's filled with all your logins, passwords, security questions.
Wait, so you're saying I'd be giving all my passwords to a company? That kind of freaks me out. How do I know they're not going to misuse them?
That's a totally valid concern.
Yeah.
But any reputable service is going to use really strong security measures.
Like what?
Like they use something called AES 256 encryption.
AES 256. What is that?
It's like the gold standard for encryption. It's so secure that banks and governments use it to protect their most confidential data.
Oh, wow. Okay. That sounds a lot better. But what exactly is this digital vault? Is it a real place or like an online thing?
It's all virtual.
Okay.
It's like a space on their secure servers where they keep all your information safe. Think of it as a combination of a safe deposit box and a high-tech security system.
Gotcha.
They usually have multiple layers of security, too, things like multi-factor authentication, which means you need more than just a password to get in.
Like, what else would you need?
You might need a code sent to your phone or even a fingerprint scan.
Biometrics, yeah.
Exactly.
So it's not just about storing passwords. It's about creating a system that's, like, really hard to break into.
Exactly.
What other things might these services use to keep my info safe?
They might do something called data segmentation, where your information is split up and stored in different places. Makes it way harder for hackers to get to it all. Or they might even use blockchain technology.
Really? Like cryptocurrency blockchain?
Yeah, exactly. It's known for being super secure and tamper-proof.
Okay.
Imagine, every time someone tries to access your data, it's recorded on this permanent digital ledger, so it's impossible to change or delete anything without leaving a trace.
Whoa, blockchain for digital legacy management? That's impressive.
Right, so they're taking security very seriously.
Yeah, okay, definitely sounds like it. But what happens if something happens to the company itself?
That's a good question.
Is my data still safe then?
Yeah, a good service would have a plan B. They might use distributed storage, so your data's copied on multiple servers in different places.
Okay.
That way, even if one server crashes, your info is safe. And they might even have backups with other trusted companies.
So even if one company goes down, it's still safe.
Exactly. So you've got multiple layers of protection.
Okay, that's good to know. All this security stuff is making me think, what about all those social media accounts I have? Do I really want them just hanging out there after I'm gone?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you.
It seems kind of weird.
That's where a digital asset will comes in.
Okay.
It's a legal document that basically says what you want to happen to all your accounts after you're gone.
Oh, okay, so it's not just about practical stuff. It's about, like, how I'm remembered online.
Right.
Okay, that's interesting. So what can people do with their social media, after they're gone?
You've got a few choices. You can memorialize your profile.
What does that mean?
It means that the platform basically freezes it. Nobody can change anything, but people can still visit and, share memories.
Okay, so it's like a digital tombstone.
Sort of, yeah. Or you can have your accounts completely deleted so they just disappear.
Gone, yeah.
And some platforms let you choose a legacy contact.
Oh, what's that?
That's someone who can manage your account after you're gone, maybe share updates or a final message.
Oh, wow, so they can keep posting for you.
Right.
That's wild. So you really have a lot of control over what happens online after you're gone.
Yeah, you get to choose how your digital self lives on.
That is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
This is all blowing my mind. I'm definitely feeling a little overwhelmed, and I'm also feeling like I should start getting my own digital life in order.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about.
I'm ready to take a break, though. We've covered a lot. We'll be back in the next part of our deep dive to explore some of the ethical stuff and maybe even some unexpected benefits of all this.
Looking forward to it.
See you then. I'll see you then. Okay, so we're back, and we're diving deeper into digital legacy management. We've talked about all the practical stuff, but now I'm kind of curious about the ethical side of things.
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe even some benefits that people don't really think about.
It's a really interesting area where technology and, human values kind of clash.
Right.
One thing that's really thought-provoking is this whole idea of the right to be forgotten.
Yeah, like after you die.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, we have laws to protect our privacy while we're alive, but what happens after we're gone?
Right.
Can our families ask to have stuff removed from the internet?
That's a good question.
Do we have a right to a clean slate in the digital afterlife?
That's a tough one. It makes you wonder who's really in control of our online stuff after we're gone. Is it our families, the tech companies,
Yeah.
or even the government?
That's where things get really complicated, legally speaking.
Okay.
The laws around digital inheritance and the right to be forgotten, they're still being figured out.
So it's kind of like the Wild West out there.
In a way, yeah. But that's why having a digital legacy plan is so important.
Right.
You can actually say what you want in a legal document, like a digital asset will.
Okay.
That way your loved ones know what to do, and it can even influence how things are handled, even if the laws aren't clear.
So it's about taking control while you still can,
Exactly.
even if the legal stuff is still a bit fuzzy.
Right.
But what if the family doesn't agree with what the person wanted? How do you deal with that?
That's a really good point, and it shows why it's so important to talk to your family about all this.
While you're still alive.
Yeah, if you discuss your digital legacy wishes while you're still here, it can prevent a lot of arguments later on.
Right.
It also helps to talk to a lawyer who knows about this stuff, like an estate planning attorney who specializes in digital assets.
Okay.
They can help you make sure your wishes are clear and legal.
So it's not just about technology. It's about communicating and being prepared legally.
Exactly. It's about blending the digital and the human.
Right. What about kids? They're growing up online even more than we did.
Uh,
Do their parents have complete control over their digital stuff, even after they're gone?
that's a really tricky question. Kids are building their online identities so young these days, but do they really understand what it all means in the long run?
I mean, I barely do.
Right. So who gets to decide what happens to their digital legacy, especially if something happens to them?
Yeah, that's a tough one. You have to balance the parents' rights with the kids' privacy and their own, sense of self.
Exactly.
And as technology keeps changing and kids are basically born online, how will we even handle digital legacy in the future?
It's a good question.
Will we need new laws, new ethical rules?
Definitely possible. I mean, we're already talking about the need for digital legacy tools that are designed for kids.
Okay, that makes sense.
Ways for them to have a say in their online presence. And some people are even talking about AI systems that could learn a person's values and act as their digital executor after they're gone.
AI managing our digital afterlife. That's kind of freaky, but also kind of cool.
Yeah, it definitely raises some interesting questions about bias and whether an algorithm can really understand what a person wanted.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation we could have. But for now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about the good stuff that can come from managing your digital legacy.
Okay.
Besides just peace of mind.
Right.
What are some of the surprising benefits that people might not realize?
One thing that people often overlook is that planning for your digital legacy can actually make you more organized right now.
Really?
Yeah, think about it. When you go through all your digital stuff, secure your passwords, clean up your accounts, it just makes your online life way easier to manage.
So it's like spring cleaning for your digital life.
Exactly. And just like cleaning your house can make you feel more relaxed, organizing your digital life can have the same effect.
That makes sense.
You might find subscriptions you're not using anymore, get rid of old accounts, just make things simpler.
Right.
So it's not just about preparing for the future, it's about making things better right now.
Okay, I like that. Any other surprises?
Another cool thing is that it can spark some really interesting conversations with your family.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when you talk about what you want to happen to your digital stuff, you're not just talking about passwords and accounts. You're talking about your values, what you want to be remembered for. It's a chance to share stories, say what's important to you and connect with your family on a deeper level.
That's a good point. Those conversations might not happen otherwise.
Right.
So this whole digital legacy thing can actually bring families closer together.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe you'll discover that your niece is a graphic design whiz and can help you create a really cool online memorial.
That's a great idea.
Or maybe your nephew knows all about coding and can help secure your accounts.
So it becomes a family project.
Right, a shared experience where you can pass on knowledge and skills and really celebrate your life and the people you love.
This is amazing. We're taking something that could be scary and turning it into something positive and creative.
Exactly.
Speaking of creative, I bet planning your digital legacy can be a creative outlet in itself.
Absolutely. You're basically writing your own story online, choosing how you want to be remembered.
Yeah.
You can pick your favorite photos and videos, write messages to people, even create those digital time capsules that people can open in the future.
Like a digital version of those letters you bury in a time capsule.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like writing your own digital eulogy, but way more fun.
Right. You get to show your personality, your sense of humor, what makes you unique.
This is blowing my mind. It's not just about protecting your data. It's about preserving your, essence, your spirit,
Well said.
your digital soul.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's a reminder that even online, what matters most is our connections with other people and the stories we leave behind.
I'm feeling so inspired to get started on my own digital legacy plan. But before I disappear down a rabbit hole of online organizing, let's wrap up this part and move on to the final part of our deep dive, where we'll talk about some practical tips and resources. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into digital legacy management. We've talked about a lot of stuff, the practical side, the ethics, even some of the unexpected benefits, but now I want to know, how do I actually get started with all this? It still feels kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, it's totally understandable to feel that way. It's a lot to take in. But the key is to start small.
Okay.
Focus on what feels most important to you. And remember, there are tons of resources out there to help you.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better. But where do I even begin? What are some actual steps I can take?
A good place to start is just by making a list. Remember that digital asset assessment we talked about?
Yeah.
Just write down all the online accounts you can think of, social media, email, banking, shopping sites, cloud storage, anything with a username and password.
Okay, so basically just a big list of my entire online life. Any tips for making sure I don't forget anything?
Think about all the devices you use. Your phone, your computer, your tablet.
Hmm.
Go through your apps, your browser history, your bookmarks. Sometimes just seeing those familiar websites can remind you of accounts you haven't thought about in ages.
Oh, that's a good point.
And don't forget to check your email. Sometimes you get those registration confirmations or welcome messages from websites you totally forgot about.
It's like a digital treasure hunt.
Yeah.
Okay, so once I have this big list, what do I do with it?
Then it's time to make sure those accounts are secure. A password manager can be a lifesaver for that.
Yeah.
It keeps all your passwords safe in one place, and it can even help you create stronger passwords and alert you if any of your accounts have been compromised.
I've heard of those, but I've always been a little nervous about giving all my passwords to a third-party app. What should I look for in a good password manager?
Look for ones that use strong encryption, like AES 256 and multi-factor authentication. That means you need more than just your password to log in.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's like a double layer of protection.
Exactly. Do some research, read reviews, and make sure they have a good privacy policy. You want to feel comfortable trusting them with your information.
Right. Okay. So that's for keeping my account safe now. But what about the actual legacy planning part? How do I decide what happens to all this stuff after I'm gone?
That's where a digital asset will comes in. And, there's help out there for that too. You can find templates online, or you can even talk to an estate planning lawyer who specializes in digital assets.
Okay.
They can help you figure out all the legal stuff and make sure your wishes are documented correctly.
So it's like having a lawyer for your digital afterlife.
Yeah.
What about telling my family what I want? Any advice for that?
Just be super clear. Write down your instructions for each account, usernames, passwords, everything, and be specific about what you want to happen. Do you want the account memorialized, deleted, passed on to someone? You could even make a video message. That can be really helpful.
Oh, yeah, a video. That's a good idea. More personal.
Right. It's like leaving a part of yourself behind.
I like that. What if there are things I want to keep private, even from my family?
That can be tricky. You can adjust the privacy settings on some platforms, but ultimately, once you're gone, your executor or next of kin might have access to some of your stuff. That's why it's so important to have honest conversations with your loved ones about your wishes, especially when it comes to sensitive information.
So it's all about communication and trust.
Exact.
Blending the digital world with the human side of things. This whole process, it could be kind of emotional, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, thinking about our digital legacy, it forces us to think about our mortality, which can be tough.
Yeah.
But remember, this is really about celebrating life, not dwelling on death.
Right.
It's about taking control of your story, preserving your memories, and making sure your online self reflects who you really are.
That's a good way to look at it. It's like making sure your digital self lives on in a way that feels true to you. Well, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive. Any final words of wisdom before we wrap things up?
Don't wait. Start thinking about your digital legacy now, even if it's just making a list of your accounts or having a chat with someone you trust. The sooner you start, the better. It'll give you peace of mind knowing that you're in control.
That's great advice. And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of digital legacy management. I hope you learned something new and maybe feel a little more empowered to take charge of your own digital afterlife. Until next time, remember, your digital legacy matters, so make it count.